What's up, nerds? In today's video, we're going to be going over some portfolio tips. Hopefully you can learn a thing or two. These are some things that I've done in the past and or I look for as somebody who has sat in a lot of interviews with people who have focused their skills on WordPress. So the first thing is use as few plugins as possible. That kind of goes without saying for a lot of reasons, but if you're the kind of person who is selling yourself as somebody who is like, I know WordPress and I can build you what you need, using very little plugins is a good thing. Anything that you would install just to make your life easier, just avoid that and show that you know how to make those things. A great example of this was Yoast. It's a super easy plugin to install. You get a lot of things right out of the box, but being able to create your own meta boxes and have that show up on the front end of the page shows that you know how to use, open graph tags, things like that, setting up an SEO friendly page and not just relying on the plugin to do all that thinking for you. I know that it feels like it's like, oh man, but everybody uses Yoast, but I think that really makes something that's going to set you apart, that you know how to do all that, because open graph and knowing what the tags are and knowing how to all the rules around meta descriptions and titles and things like that are going to be super helpful. And the more that you can integrate that into the back end of your WordPress site, the better. And it shows off your skills much better. And also, like, if the moment you use a slider plugin, like, there's a lot of red flags that are going to go off in that potential client or employer's mind that, oh, we're relying on a plugin for a slider which can be easily built, with a couple lines, some JavaScript, some CSS, some HTML. And they're also going to see that you don't care a bunch about your website's site speed. So that's going to be a huge red flag. So I would say, like, if you're trying to show off your portfolio, avoid plugins as much as possible. This is just more kind of like an idea for a page, but show off a filterable projects library. A big portion of why people are looking at your portfolio is to see the projects that you've worked on. And I've done a video about how to make posts filterable, so you can look at that up at the top. The little flag should come out any second now. But the reason why I feel like this should be highlighted here is because it shows off a couple different things. Number one is that you've done awesome work. You should show it off. Obviously have a dedicated page to show off your projects. But more importantly, it shows off that you know how to use the WordPress's API and you know how the WP query works. You know how you can actually sort and filter things based off of, whether it's the URL or behind the scenes stuff, whatever. But there is definitely room that to use this kind of feature on your site. And it shows off so many different good things that can set you apart. Don't use a page builder or a pre-built theme. If you want to show off your drag and drop skills, this is not the place to do it. You can have a project in your portfolio where it's like, hey, I used Elementor here and it was really great because here's all the things that I made for it and all that. And that would be an awesome place to do it. But like your actual portfolio site, your domain, that's not the place to do it, because you want to show off that what you know how to build yourself, not necessarily how to use something someone else has built. It's very hard to tell whether or not you know what you're doing if you're running a pre-built theme. There's going to be a hard line to draw between like what was in the pre-built theme and versus what did you do on your own. So you don't want to blur those lines. You want to be able to go into that client meeting or that potential interview and say like, hey, I did everything that you see here. This is all me. With the one exception here of not using page builders is Gutenberg. That's a big part of WordPress now. So if you want to be able to show that you know how to make blocks, custom blocks, maybe even throw in some ACF blocks in there too to show that you know how to do both, then that would be, in my book, a big plus, because there's going to be times where you need to use Gutenberg. And so that would be a nice skill to show off on your portfolio. Number 4 is run a blog. A blog has a lot of different parts to it, from comments to, just all the different tags that you'll have to style, being able to set up different kinds of layouts and different templates, things like that. it's a big deal. And then it shows that you know how to use all the different page templates that can exist inside of a theme, or not page templates, but I guess like PHP templates, and how WordPress uses those. The template hierarchy is what I'm trying to say. So that would be a really nice thing to be able to show off a really wide breadth of WordPress knowledge. It also gives you a chance to show off other code-related or life-related things that you've learned and done in the past. So if you're working on like, hey, you know what? I don't know Gutenberg, so I'm not using it on my portfolio currently, but here's an article about, you know, the things that I'm doing to keep up on that, or here's some stuff that I've learned about React, or here's some stuff that I've learned about Node. Things that will kind of entice and potential employers or clients, and know that you can handle more than just what WordPress typically encapsulates, and shows that you're passionate above all else. Number 5 is show off as many of your skills as possible. So like if you are better with CSS and design, this is a really good opportunity for you to do whatever you want. You're not really bound to a client's scope or project guidelines or anything like that. This is all you. So you can absolutely take this time to show off some of those skills. So like, for example, if you know how to use Lottie, then yeah, maybe you can drum up a nice After Effects file, throw it through there, and show that you know how to make that happen. And or if you know how to, you know, work with REST APIs or things like that, maybe you could have, and this is something that I've played with, is have it shows what you're currently listening to on Spotify on your website. I don't know. Other frameworks and stuff that you know how to work with. Show that you've done that. Hopefully on your portfolio you have live previews of the projects that you've worked on. So if you've built a site for somebody, link directly to the current live site. If it's more of like a tool that you made or something like that, have a link if you are able to on your current site, or embed it in your site on that page. That way people can interact with it and you can show off your skills that way. And lastly, like I wanted to just show off some kind of ideas that I had for some like potential things that you can incorporate into your portfolio. Maybe like a password protected resume and or pricing sheet. Sorry, these are bullets are coming in groups, but I think that was actually kind of a cool little thing, because first of all, you don't want everybody just like scraping your resume off of your site or anything like that, or bots downloading it or whatever. So being able to kind of show that you can have some interaction there on your site, make it so they have to like, you know, answer a question, some sort of custom CAPTCHA in order to be able to download your resume or something like that, or your pricing sheet, whatever. And then there's going to be some other things that you simply can't show on the front end of your site, and those are very valuable skills. There are lots of very, very valuable skills that you cannot show anybody, or they can't realize by just browsing your website. So an example of this would be, you know, having a CI or anything like that, or how you were able to integrate that with Git and GitHub and all that, and that's how you deploy your site. So like the hosting that you use, maybe you set up, you know, it's all on Kubernetes, and you really want to be able to, you know, that took a lot of work. You watched a lot of courses, you went through a lot of trial and error, and you've got it working, and that's something to be proud of. Maybe having a page that shows and explains, maybe this is a blog post, but I kind of like the idea of like having like an evergreen page where it like quickly, that it outlines all the different things that you've done in order to make that happen on your site. And so it can be an ever evolving single page. And because people are also going to be able to see whether or not you use like Twig or what APIs that you use in order to kind of bring this site into fruition. So I think something like that would be awesome. And then also kind of like a what I'm currently learning page. I kind of talked about like being able to show off some of the stuff that you've learned, maybe in blog posts or whatever. But I think another dedicated page about like, hey, I'm like through this course on Node right now, or hey, I'm learning Docker right now, and this is how far I'm at in it, and this is, you know, maybe like a progress bar that's like I'm 75% of the way through this, or something like that. That way it kind of shows, of course, you're passionate, you're continuing to learn things, and also that you have skills outside that can kind of also help in if necessary. So ultimately, I hope this kind of hodgepodge of ideas and tips that that you're able to pull something out of it and that you can integrate it into your personal portfolio. Because I've had many times where people have said that my portfolio was the thing that got me hired. It really showed off what I knew. My GitHub, oh, and that's another one that I mentioned, it have links to your GitHub and stuff like that, because being able to browse the code behind the scenes of some of the stuff that you can show the code of is going to be really valuable. So they can really get to know like what sort of code that you're writing and what you know how to do, especially if you're looking to be employed for a WordPress job, things like that. But anyway, I hope that you learned something. If you are new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe. If you are interested in this kind of content, I do weekly WordPress videos. Also, if you are interested in having, you know, a little bit more complex tutorials, I have those on my Patreon. I try and do like once a month. And those are a little bit more complex topics, like, for example, like just deploying WordPress with Git, setting up Laravel Mix, doing headless WordPress with Gatsby. Those kind of like crash course tutorials are over on Patreon. So if you're interested in that, there's a link in the description. And last but not least, thank you to my patrons who have been supporting me. Really appreciate all of the energy that you guys bring. You guys are awesome. And yeah, if you're interested in joining, a great group of people over there. But anyways, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you in the next one.